So I just thought about this topic again, and I have meant to write it down, meant to talk about it, and I always forget. And I'm sitting over here about to make pancakes for my sweet little boy, and I'm still sipping on my coffee. It's after 12, it's afternoon now. But I came back from my walk, and I was dancing, and I think I got my brain body connected back and feeling good again, so that was good. But I'm always like, I tell you all that to tell you this. So just in my entire life, as long as I can remember just dating, or like right outside of just like beginning to date, like the part where you get into a relationship, you're like, okay, now we're doing this. I think maybe it was more, innocent when I was like in the 8th grade. And then right after that young love, sweet relationship ended, it became like dating in high school, and then I met my son's father, and I'm not going to call out. It's just, I met him when I was only 17. You guys, that's very young to like meet someone, date them, marry them, like not break up that entire time, have a child together. You're not fully formed as an adult or a person, let alone an adult. And I didn't know that I had trauma, and I don't think he was aware or like facing the trauma that he had. So I'm not here to talk about that, but I'm here to talk about the fact that the side of the track from where I'm on, or, so to say, or like from where I am coming from, which sometimes feels like out of left field and everyone else is over here, like I have encountered and felt more safe with the nice guys, because the guys that I really had crushes on and like really wanted, like the chemistry was there, the attraction was so much, but like it didn't seem, maybe they wanted a little relationship, but then they wanted to like run away. They were scared of something, they wanted freedom, whatever. It's like, I want that too. Like, I'm not your typical gal, but of course they didn't know that, and they wouldn't believe that, even if it smacked them in the head. So like I've constantly found myself most of the time meeting nice guys that were like a friend, and maybe I wasn't as attracted, it wasn't like a strong attraction chemistry thing. It was just like a feeling of like they're safer, they can be a friend first, you don't have to feel like you're just straight up, making yourself vulnerable with them. You can like easily out and make it a friendship and turn it into that, because it feels like that anyway at the onset. For me, I'm just keeping it real, you guys, and maybe I wasn't consciously thinking and feeling all those things, but it was subconsciously. It was somewhere in there, even in the back. And I did have an incident when I was 17, right before I met my son's father. Just to share, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate, but it was like kind of like a date rape situation. That's what we call it. But I didn't feel like it was rape because I wanted him to kiss me, but I was only 17, you guys, and he was 24, and it was someone I worked with. And the way it was dealt with was awful, like with the adults in my life, and like it ended up being involving with like a major corporation too, because the setting, the location that it happened on was in a public setting technically, so like normally I wouldn't have ever done that either. It was like hidden away but public, but nobody could see. It was on a certain corporation's property. I'm not going to go into detail, but like, oh my God, they would be in such huge trouble if I like went into detail about what happened and who they are. And like, that would never happen now. But back when I was 17, somehow in this reality I was in, like, it was completely covered up, swept under the rug. Everybody I know just kind of made me feel like I did something wrong. Like, it was like, what were you wearing that day? And I'm 17 years old, okay? And I didn't even want to make this video about that, but maybe I'll do a whole separate video about that. But it was like a lot more damaging of a experience than I realized. And I wholeheartedly just took it all on myself and made it like a religious thing where I needed to ask for forgiveness. And I'm like, I'm the one that was like manipulated and effed up here. But I didn't realize that until many years later. And it's confusing when you're like attracted to someone and you want like a certain level, but then it gets like taken advantage of, and then you look back and you kind of like put all the pieces together and you're like, the whole thing was actually set up and I was innocent. Like I was innocently trying to have a great day and have fun and just was attracted and liked this person, but they were too old for me. First of all, when you're like in that situation, you're right under 18, it's like a legal thing. And the law system, the legal system was not there to support the laws that they put in place for me. So that's pretty shady shit if you ask me. But I digress. So I'm talking about meeting these nice guys, right, who really want to get to know you. They just like, you're so amazing. Oh my God, you're like an angel. Like you're brightening up my life, right? And blah, blah, blah. And I totally fell for it because it felt safer every time. And we would have like long hours of conversation, whether on the phone or in person, just like where you're getting to know each other and you're talking instead of it being so physical too fast, right? So you feel like, well, this is more real, more safe, more real. And then it gives you like this weird pseudo time to like become somewhat attracted to this person. But it becomes, in my opinion, now that I've come full circle, it's more of an emotional attraction and a mental attraction because you're so starved for someone wanting to pay attention to you and care and vice versa, and for you to pour that into someone else, that it's like a trick. I've tricked myself into becoming more attracted. And then later it really does turn into something, because I'm like, oh, I like am attracted to this part of their body and this and that, and then it becomes a whole, and you put it together to make a whole. But it just doesn't start out that way. And I've learned in therapy and other, just coming full circle in my life journey experience here now and healing, that's not a good sign. That when you first meet someone and you have that exchange, there should be an attraction already present. There should be. So if there's completely not, and then it grows gradually over time, I've learned that there's some kind of manipulation going on there. There are some exceptions, I'm sure, or like mind tricks or whatever, but usually there's something that is not being transparent, presenting itself regardless of who it is or what it is, right? A lot, and I've heard some experts here on YouTube, like Teal Swan, I will shout out to her and like try to tag her on this. I have a lot, she's a spiritual teacher, she like does all sorts of teachings and just helping people work through psychology, but it's a life experience, so she can like, kind of intertwine all of these, all this knowledge and experience that she has together, and she does an amazing job. She explains things so well. But it was one of the shorts I watched of hers. It was like talking about nice guys that are narcissists, like why this happens, and it really made me think about it, and it helped me be able to talk about it like this and bring it out, because it just went ding, like a light went off when I saw her video. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I've experienced. And you think you're safe with these nice guys, and they end up being narcissists because you realize it later, or they kind of turn it, like if you're not being the perfect angel or like the people-pleasing, wonderful woman that they perceived you as at the beginning or throughout the time, right? And then all of a sudden it's like you're bad, and like you're not, like, who are you? I don't even know you. Like, maybe you're sent from the devil type of thing. Or like, how could you? Like, I loved you. All right. I put myself out there for you. And then it's like, oh my God, are you trying to say I'm a human? Like, I'm not perfect, and you built me up and you constructed this perception of me to be perfect? Like, I've been called an angel so many times. An angel, and like Crystal's perfect, or like Crystal can do no wrong. Like, obviously this was a long time ago, because that's like totally the furthest thing from how someone would describe me now, how I would describe myself. But that was people-pleasing Crystal, and that was like more innocent Crystal and not free Crystal. That Crystal was not free. She was bonded and just binded to so many different programming systems, family, the UNIS, the religious, this community, these friends, this just ideals, morals, values, like all these things that were just crammed down her in the programming. And it was so exhausting to try to like go in all those directions And I'm happy to say, like, I have been innocent, but also naive because of that innocence. And even when I started to get experience and trauma and, like, learning lessons, I took the learning lessons really hard, and I really went to extreme, like beating myself up, making new rules for myself, trying to keep myself safer, and it ended up creating my own prison. Mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, all of those things. And it became a place where I realize now I tortured myself. And I felt like it was other people doing it to me, and then I would come out and I'd be like, no, I'm doing this to myself. And I would go back and forth and do this dance until I finally, it was when I was pregnant with my son, and I tell him all the time, biggest gift from God, right? Because I started realizing I'm pregnant, I have to find my true self and get on that journey, and it may not happen overnight, but I have to start now, because that's the kind of mother I want to be. That's the kind of person I want to be. But my son, and just having him in my belly, motivated me to move forward in that kind of way. And this ended up being a whole big story, sharing more than I thought. But I'm just realizing that, and I'll share this, no names, no details to mention, but I did fall in love. I didn't know I was falling in love or living up to this love thing that I've heard about and that I feel like I have done before, but it was not in this way. And physically, moving forward, I haven't been with this person yet, and it's like, I didn't know that's what was happening to me. It just felt so intense, and I kind of played it cool through the beginning, through the middle, trying so hard to play cool, because I didn't want to be like the next girl, the next lady, the next chick that was like needy or coming across that way. It was like, and I didn't want to scare anybody away by saying something too soon. And I won't go into any more details, but we'll just say that this was not the type of person that would be like a nice guy. I'm not saying he's not nice. I'm just saying he's not the nice guy. He didn't come across to me like anybody before that I had encountered. I could tell that he was kind, he had a heart, but then he also had this other exterior to him. He came across with like more of that alpha energy that I didn't realize how attracted to that I am. And I'm learning now with like neuroscience and psychology, it's like women are attracted to alpha males because of survival skills and just things that are built inside of us. It makes sense, and I never wanted to be with a jerk or like one of those guys, meatheads, and it's like it doesn't have to be that extreme, right? And I've been looked at with such stereotypes for most of my life too. Like I have had long blonde hair most of my life, and now I've cut it all off, so I'm like breaking all of my stereotypes, right? But yeah, it's interesting because that's who I ended up like connecting with the most. And I'm sitting here and I know like the paths will be back connected. It's like I know that even though it hasn't happened like physically yet. And I was scared, I guess, and like just anxiety ridden and just feeling really bad and down about myself, feeling rejected when it wasn't physically happening. But then that's when I just kind of got more serious about my spiritual journey and that awakening, and just really trying to focus on myself and overcome these illness symptoms that I was just plagued with, and just feeling mentally, spiritually, emotionally attacked. Like if I told you guys all the stories right now, it would just blow your mind, but I've sprinkled some here and there. But I'm so glad I did that, and I just went within and was like started focus on myself. And after that started, I was able to like have a prayer and like just an intention meditation setting of like, I do love this person, and even if he doesn't love me back, I feel like he does, but if he doesn't, if something changes and he decides to go with someone else, or so, like the thought of that just breaks my heart. But at the same time, like I actually love this person, so I want him to be happy, even if it's not with me. And that really is hard to do and let go. It's really hard. So you have to really love that person and like feel thankful for the time and the experience you had with them, and just like focus on yourself, because you don't stop loving somebody, just because they're not there when it's real. And it's true. So I'm here. Man, that was a long story. So just to say that I always wanted to protect myself from being hurt like this and feeling the heartache and being left or rejected and all that. I learned that very early on, and I did my darndest and protect myself, but I ended up opening myself up to nice guys who ended up being narcissistic and more like a friend vibes at times, even if the attraction grew over time, because it was not sustainable for different reasons. So I don't know who else has experienced this, whatever side you're on, man, woman. It can go different both ways. So, whoo, that was a doozy, but the truth hurts, but it will also set you free.